Conscious Creative from MuseWorks Audio. The Conscious Creative is a podcast featuring interviews with artists who are doing transformational work in their craft and in their communities. Join us as we discuss different artistic philosophies, give you brand new tools to bring back to your creative spaces, and build a community of artists dedicated to deepening their relationship with their craft. I'm your host, Mike Irish. Thank you for joining us. Fia is an independent artist and songwriter who has released all of her music with the help of crowdfunding from her listeners. With 3 acoustic albums, Made of Stars, Legacy of Light, and Waterfall of Wisdom, she's organically built up a loyal following through social media and word of mouth. Besides her music, Fia talks about inner well-being, life as a highly sensitive person, as well as Nordic folklore. Join us today as we talk about her beginnings as an artist, her trilogy, Made of Stars, Legacy of Light, and Waterfall of Wisdom, as well as the shamanic voice work she does, her exploration of goddess traditions, and we finally wrap it up with her talking about how she's crowdfunded her albums and some of the techniques and ideas behind doing that, which is definitely worth sticking around till the end for if that's something that you've ever considered doing for your own music. I really enjoyed this interview with Fia, and I hope you do as well. Just have a couple quick words before we get into the show. I want to say a quick thanks to Beast Band Records for supporting this episode of the Conscious Creative Podcast. You can head over to beastbandrecords.com for 2020 Christmas deals. And one last message from me before we get into the episode. I'm developing a single rollout package here at MuseWorks Audio, including mixing and mastering featuring yours truly, graphic design for your single art and social media promotion, as well as a paid promotion campaign run by an expert. In my time in the music industry, I've seen so many talented artists put out great music with no plan and then despair that it hasn't reached an audience. The goal of this service will be to not only give you a professional sounding and looking release, but also help you develop an audience you can take with you for the rest of your career. If this sounds of interest to you, please reach out at museworksaudio@gmail.com to join the beta program risk-free. And now let's get into the interview with Swedish folk artist Fia. Welcome, Fia, to the Conscious Creative. I really appreciate you taking the time to take this interview with me.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. I'd love to give the listeners an idea about how you started as an artist and what kind of music you started with, and as well as was there any specific music like outside inspirations that started you off in the beginning?
Absolutely. So music has been the largest piece of my Fia puzzle my whole life. I started writing songs when I was around 10 years old. And back then I didn't know any instruments. So I only wrote lyrics and melodies. And that has actually stayed like as my core passion is still like the song crafting. And then when I was about 11, I started playing the oboe, which is a woodwind classical instrument. So my kind of like official entry into the world of music education and such was through the classical door. And then I discovered, well, it's really fun to sing, and what if I could learn an instrument that could actually support my songwriting? So I picked up the guitar and the piano, and I learned the basics, which is actually the only things I know now as well. I never bothered to actually learn more because I wasn't interested enough. I just wanted like the tool, like give me enough so I can write the songs, you know? Yeah, and so it's been classical, and then like as in many other who studies music, you go through like the pop rock phase that you learn, and I was on a jazz track as well in school. And then I was in, like, after, let's see if I get the names right, but after college, no, after high school, I went to like a preparatory education for the music university, where you're meant to like hone your craft to make the entry exams. And after 1.5 years, it was 2 year education, I dropped out off. Um, Simply because I was not really thriving in the school environment anymore. I was really feeling really stressed and anxious, and I felt like the my spark for music kind of faded in the school environment, because even though I was surrounded by other creatives and had super amazing teachers and got to spend my days doing music, it was still according to a framework, and there was certain things that were considered cool, fancy, more advanced, and I was still like in my room writing songs in a way that was considered non non cool. um, so I dropped off and went 3 years when I didn't really know what to do. I had all of these small jobs to just stay afloat. And then one summer, it was the summer of 2015, I believe. I went to a place in Sweden which is called Ängsbacka. And this is a spiritual community and course center that is deeply, deeply focused on personal development and creating conscious new models for our society. And I went there for a whole summer of volunteering to help with their summer festivals. And it totally rocked my world like nothing else. For the first time, I met people who were also like asking bigger questions and inquiring, is there more to life than what I've been told? So this summer was really inspiring. And when I came home, I found that I had like, there was this newfound flavor of music inside of me. So I started writing to see what it was. And out came all of these songs that are like talking about the spiritual journey, basically, my spiritual journey, with themes that are very universal. Um, and yeah, that's it in a fast track version.
Yeah, cool. That's very cool. So then moving forward, what you released 3 albums after that point, essentially.
Yes.
Okay, okay, and they're titled "Made of Stars," "Legacy of Light," and "Waterfall of Wisdom," and they're
Yeah.
sort of a trilogy, right?
Yeah.
What is the sort of the purpose and the meaning, especially behind the trilogy, but also broken into parts?
Absolutely. So with these 3 records that are solo acoustic albums, I I was in a place where I just really needed to get this music out there. That was the message that I was hearing inside of me. Like, don't worry about it being too simple or too, like, yeah, too simple is the word. Just get it out there and it will find the people whom it resonates with. So, Made of Stars, to start there, is really just a time capsule of a very intense spiritual awakening phase, um, of me having my whole reality turned upside down, and everything that I thought was certain, I started to question. And all of these different, I feel like there are certain themes that we move through when we start walking our path consciously, such as like, who am I really? Who am I? What do I want? And why am I here? So Made of Stars kind of just explore that. So Made of Stars is it's a lyrical part from Yes and More Please. And Yes and More Please is about realizing our inherent worth and that we are at home in ourselves. It's basically about that journey back home and realizing that everything we're looking for is here, connecting back with that. And Made of Stars is just it's a reference to us being stardust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I would love to hear the meaning behind Waterfall of Wisdom as well.
Absolutely. So Waterfall of Wisdom is the latest, is the third one. Come back to Legacy later. But Waterfall of Wisdom is so actually can I talk to you about Legacy of Light first? So we got Made of Stars, and then came Legacy of Light, which is the second one in the trilogy. And Legacy of Light is like, okay, I've been walking my path for a while. I'm starting to find my community. I'm starting to find myself and my place, and I am stepping into service. I am here, and I know that I have a purpose, and I am actively taking steps in living that and allowing my soul to shine through and allowing my heart to be open. And then you come to Waterfall of Wisdom, which is like, okay, next level. Okay, how can I make this movement as in like global, like it's bigger, it's outside of yourself. It's the like you have yourself, your community, and then you have like the globe, the universe. So Waterfall of Wisdom is an even more deeper, a deep dive in yourself and trusting that which you find in there. Because I feel like on the spiritual journey, there is a phase where it's very much like, I'm going to consume all the books and I'm going to listen to all the podcasts and I'm going to be involved with all the teachers and listen to them and learn. And then there comes the point when you've integrated the teachings that resonate. And then there is a deeper layer where this your unique soul starts to speak. That is what Waterfall of Wisdom is about. And I didn't realize that I was writing a trilogy until I had written Waterfall of Wisdom.
Yeah.
When I saw them, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, they're
Absolutely.
actually, they belong together, you know?
Yeah. So it's so clear and just really incredible. When I was reading up to do the interview, and I'd listened to your music, but then when I read your story and saw you describing those, it was just it all made a lot of sense. And yeah, it's really beautiful. So moving forward from that, what projects are you working on now, and is there any sort of deviation from what you've been doing in the past to what your next projects are going to be looking like?
Absolutely. So I'm working with one producer in the States. So we work online.
Cool.
And then I have one producer here in Sweden. And because of the circumstances, we're working online too. And they're very different projects. So both of them are new acquaintances. So we're kind of getting a feel for each other. I feel that I have both English songs and Swedish songs in me. When I started writing when I was 10, I wrote in Swedish, of course. And in the beginning, I was intending that I was only going to write in Swedish and release songs. But then this came and it was clear. But so I have these two tracks that are working at the same time. And I really want to take the time to create a piece of art, an album that is really thought through, that have gotten the time and attention, bringing in musicians and Yeah, I'm not feeling the same urgency as I did with the 3 albums that came. They really was like, okay, just get us out. And I was really focused on, okay, just getting them out. And I can look at them like, wow, they would have been very different if I sat like for 2 years with each record. But that was not the essence. That was not the point of these albums. So I'm really excited about these now that are they're growing, and I don't know when they're gonna be out for the world to hear.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Cool. Yeah. I look forward to hearing it. I really do. And I'd also I'd like to hear more about you do some shamanic voice work as well, right?
Mhm.
What could you explain a little bit about what that is to me? I'm not familiar with the concept, and yeah, you can break it down to as like basic as beginner as possible.
Totally. Yeah. So this summer I've been offering sessions here in my home in shamanic voice work. Right now, I'm not doing that anymore. I'll see if I pick up the teaching. But shamanic voice work for me is using my voice as a way of altering consciousness. And by altering consciousness, getting access to parts of me that might be locked away or hidden, or to travel through the universe. So this connects with like with a shamanic worldview that there are different worlds and that there are multiple timelines and time tracks happening. This is a huge topic. But I've studied 2 years with my elder teacher Anya in shamanic priestess arts here in Sweden. So this shamanic voice work were kind of like marrying my music with the priestess work. So what this does is all of these sessions, if I can talk from that perspective, are different depending on who comes into the space and what kind of intention they have to come and work. But majority of the people who have come to see me are people who are desiring a deeper connection with themselves and who are desiring a deeper and more open flow when it comes to their voice. This part of our being and this part of our expression is one that is heavily shut down in many people. And by reclaiming our physical voice, so much else can be catalyzed and put into motion in our lives. So using our voice as a way of journeying, shamanic journeying, of meeting parts of ourselves, of integrating new energies. It's a deeply intuitive and deeply magical work.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it can be profoundly healing too. If that is what's meant to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was a great description. I think I can sort of understand it a little bit more now. As do you find that doing that kind of work, is there anything that you've noticed how it affects your creative process in terms of like recording and writing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what I feel for myself personally is that, so I have my own practice, like my own work with my voice. And what happens is that there is an element of freedom that I otherwise do not access. There is an element that goes beyond the mind and the thinking and the logical. And it's like doing this work kind of clears the pathways of an even pure and more true expression of me, or that which wishes to move through me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. It's, it's very cool. You, You've been working with some Nordic traditions as well. Is that intertwined with the shamanic voice work, or is that something kind of separate? I don't know. I'd love to hear more about yeah, your explorations in the Nordic traditions.
Yeah. So there are so many different lines of work and traditions. So the North, you can say there's so many, like you have so many countries here in the North. So I've been focusing on Sweden, what I've been finding here, and so there's always been a tradition of using voice here, and it's been used for galder, which is it's a magical kind of singing. It's kind of like singing spells. And then you have kulning, which is an ancient herding call. And these one go hand in hand. And so it's been, there's always been a practical use of the voice here, but it's also been entwined with magical traditions and folklore and that. So during my 2 years of studying with Anya, I got very, very deeply immersed in the goddess traditions. So connecting with the Nordic goddesses. Many might be familiar, like with Viking gods and goddesses. Here we went even further beyond. Like many seem like, oh, there were only Vikings in the North back in the days, but I've been curious to see what was before the Vikings. And there was a deeply goddess worshipping, many, many deeply goddess worshipping communities up here before the Vikings. So for me, it has just been a deep dive in the mysteries and the magic that is like, it's kind of, it's being forgotten, and we're not really being taught this unless you have, or fortunate to have like a grandma or grandpa who got, who had these magical abilities, like if they were healer or if they were wise men or women. Because I think this applies to many other places in the world, that this ancient wisdom and this very natural way of being and way of moving through life, which is earth-based and very, very real and tangible, is considered by many to be like, to be, what's the word, like woohoo,
Yeah.
like weird and strange, when it's actually one of the most solid, clear things there is.
Yeah.
I don't know if I answered your
No,
question.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I it's interesting because I've just done a tiny bit of ancestral work, and then doing these interviews for this podcast, I've run into so many people that are doing similar stuff, and I'm curious as to whether it's whether I'm just happen to be running in these circles now, or if it's something that is going through a renaissance right now. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that we are, as the world is shifting, we're being acutely made aware of that. Planet Earth is, our dear mother is under intense pressure and might choose to like shrug us off. And I think we're being, I think there's like an instinctive way of like going back to roots and to actually do the work in, okay, where are my roots, and like doing decolonization work and all of that. Um, yeah, I think it's very much in the air. I hear a lot of people who are diving into, okay, what is my ancestry, and what trauma is there, what pain is there, what beauty is there, what magic is there. I think I'm experiencing more of a willingness and openness to say, okay, I need to really go deep to to come into wholeness so that I can be part of the solution instead of the problem. Because I feel when, again, speaking for myself, I feel me doing my lineage work, doing my work connecting back here to the north is giving me even more reverence for the earth and to our planet and everything that's going on. It's like when things go from ethereal and diffuse to actually embodied and right in front of your face, I think that's when many of us human beings are like, all right, oh yeah, like a wake up moment.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So well said, Fia. We're gonna kind of take a right turn here, and this is something that I think you've crowdfunded your albums, right?
Yes.
And I think that's it's overlooked definitely by a lot of artists, and I would love to hear your experience in crowdfunding and how it's worked for you, as well as if you have any advice or resources for artists that you'd point them in the direction. I would love to get this idea out more.
Mm-hmm. Totally. So the basic of crowdfunding is that you ask your community to back your projects, to back something that you wish to bring forth. So, for example, I make music, so I would say, hey, I have this record that I'm making, and for this record to be made, I need this and this and this much money, and you can support me by pre-purchasing your CD, for example. For me, this has been a way of, so I've done it 3 times. And the first time it was, or 4 times. The first time was really, it was both a success and the biggest failure. So I managed to crowdfund about, let's see what the currencies is. Well, about $14,000. I did it on a platform where I had set a goal, and unless I hit that goal, I didn't get any money. So I didn't reach my goal. So $14,000 were sent back to the backers, and I was like, damn. But I felt like, okay, there must still be someone who is willing to pledge again, and I got $1,000. So what I did was that I was able to negotiate a deal with a producer and saying, hey, can you help me? I have this amount of money and I want to make an album. And we did it in a very, very simple way, and that became Native Stars. The core recording is, the songs are live recorded, so it's me playing and singing at the same time. Anyhow, so the first one was a little da-da-da. Second one did give me the first album. And then this third and the fourth time, it grew and got better and better as with anything we practice on. I would say the most important thing for crowdfunding is the prep work. The prep work is like, I would say 90% of crowdfunding, which is, it's about building a buzz, about making people excited that this is going to happen. Depending on what platform you have also, the first like 24 hours are crucial, like to engagement and being favored by the algorithm on their websites and such. And building a buzz, and then having, there's some inside tips here. It's great if someone stumbles over this.
Yeah.
What I did was that I had my inner circle of people, which was I engaged about 50 people who I asked, hey, I'm putting out my crowdfunding. Here you have a little pre-listen of the album. When you have pre-listened, could you please go and pledge? And to do that before I put it live. So when I put the campaign live, there was already a big chunk there to create social proof, because that's how our brains work. We're like, oh, other people do that, which must means that it's good, so I'll do that too. And then people get excited, and then once that rocket is like launched, it is about keeping the momentum. And for me, I found it was just using all my channels and posting in as creative a ways I can, and not caring if people thought I was annoying. And I sent emails to my email list. In the beginning, I didn't have one, but then as I grew, I got one. And to remind people, I think I read somewhere, it was like 7 or 9 times, that we have to see something 7 or 9 times before we take action, many of us. Because we're like, oh, I'll do that later, or I don't have the money now, or yeah, I will. So being in people's faces, just do it, because there's a lot of noise, and you just got to be deeply committed and like very much in tune to why, and explaining to people it's not charity. You're actually pre-purchasing, and you're supporting an artist in the process. And the beauty of crowdfunding is that it makes it for me as an independent artist, it makes it possible for me to make music with even more ease, because I have then I don't have to then all of a sudden come up with this huge amount of cash to produce an album. It comes in with the help of people who like what I do, and I put it in and I create, and then I put it back. So it is this beautiful collaboration, this beautiful like it's one of the most amazing things ever, because it's people saying, I believe in you, and I believe in what you do. And I think for any creative who does crowdfunding, it is the edge might be to realize that I am worthy of the support. It is okay for me to ask for support. It is okay for me to receive. That's a huge thing that I see. This like hesitance, like, oh, why should I? Or no one's gonna want to. But if you have something, or if you're gonna create something of massive value, then why wouldn't people want to support you? I mean, people buy like dumb shit all day, so why couldn't they pitch in $25 for a CD,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That was a FIA masterclass right there. Wow. There's so much good stuff in there. Holy. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I just have one last question for you before we wrap up. And yeah, I want to know what your ultimate goal is with your creativity, and what impact you want to leave in the world with it.
Yes. So global impact, even greater global impact. I wish for the mainstream music business to also have a flavor of higher consciousness, so that one day on the radio you might hear a song like I Am, that is life affirming, that is inviting you to broaden your views.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm aiming at.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I love that. Yeah. Thanks so much for this, Fia. This was a great interview.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you. It was fun.
Again, I want to say thanks to Beast Van Records for supporting the Conscious Creative Podcast. Beast Van Records is an independent hip-hop label in Vancouver, BC, and to be honest, they have some of my favorite local artists on the bill. If you want to support independent music, head over to beastvanrecords.com for 2020 Christmas deals. So my main takeaways from the interview, first of all, I love that, she said that she didn't realize that it was a trilogy until it was done, and sometimes I think that happens with creativity, where you put your head down and you're working away, and all of a sudden you sit up and you look back and you understand what your subconscious has been creating and working towards in a bigger picture, and it can be a pretty surreal experience. And another point that she made about crowdfunding, I really like the idea of crowdfunding. I haven't done it myself, but I know that as artists we need to be more creative with our income streams now that people aren't buying music. People aren't buying music, and that's fine, but you need to figure out other ways to monetize, and to support yourself, and crowdfunding can be a great way to do that. She dropped some really great pearls of wisdom, and it was really, really valuable advice. And one little motivational thing that she said is people buy stupid stuff all the time, and putting $25 into something that's going to create a really beautiful piece of work at the end of the day is a great use of money. And I think that artists undervalue what they bring to the world, so that's just something to keep in mind if you are hesitant towards crowdfunding. And the final thing, and this is my one regret from the interview, is not chiming in and sort of saying, yeah, me too, at the end when she said what her purpose is and what her goal is to step into the music industry and transform it, and that's kind of what I would like to do as well. So I thought that was a pretty incredible moment, and definitely something to take away. Music is such a beautiful thing, and in a lot of ways it's been warped. So, but we can change that if we all, sort of focus and do our thing. So that was a really great moment for me to hear what is essentially my overarching goal come out as what is hers. So that was pretty special for me. And yeah, I just want to say thanks again to Fia for taking the interview, because this was an absolute pleasure. And thank you for listening. You can follow me at Museworks Audio on Instagram. Follow me on YouTube. I'm doing a vlog series right now about a book called How to Make It in the New Music Business, which has been an incredible read, and I really want to share that with more people, so I'm really looking forward to that. And yeah, join me on social media and let's chat and change the music industry together. Thanks for listening.